at Shelabobby Handmade. My name is Caitlin, known just about everywhere on the internet as Shelabobby, and this is my podcast where we talk about knitting, crochet, yarn, all of those fun things. And today, traditional podcast for you. It has been a little bit longer than normal. If you watched my last podcast, then you know that I was away last weekend, which is typically I record every 2 weeks. So it has been 3 weeks since I have recorded, and I have some stuff to show you. I feel like there should be more things for 3 weeks, but we'll get into it. You also have to forgive my appearance today. It is later in the day than I typically record, but we went to Sam's Club this morning, which is an hour drive one way, and then it's pouring down rain, so this is what you get today. We are real. We are sweaty and fuzzy. All right, so let's get right started. Let's get right in. Let's get started. Y'all know what I mean. It is August, which means that I wanted to draw prizes for July. So on your screen right now, you are seeing the July winners for Charlie's Sock Hop. I have drawn from Instagram and email. So if you are an Instagram winner, please message me directly on Instagram. If you are a email winner, then please email me to get in contact. And then I have drawn from Ravelry Trader and finished object threads. So you'll see your names on the screen. If you're a Ravelry winner, please reach out to me directly on Ravelry to claim your prize. If you don't know what that is for, Charlie's Sock Hop is a sock make-along that I am hosting this summer just to make socks together, and it is hosted on Instagram and Ravelry, and I also have an option for email if you are not a part of Instagram or Ravelry. But if you want more information, check out this video here. I believe it is episode 40. I think it's episode 40. It's the blanket one. It'll be linked right here if you want to learn more about the make-along. And I think I paste the details in the description below. If not, that video is where you can learn about it. Yeah, so those are the winners. Congratulations. I have not drawn them yet, so I don't know who has won yet. I'm going to do that while I am editing. But we will have one more round of winners. And I don't think I've mentioned, so far the winners have received a pattern prize, and I usually give them a selection of prizes. But yeah, it is a Ravelry pattern, or if you're not on Ravelry, then a pattern of your choice from your designer of choice. I have decided that there will be a grand prize that will be drawn at the end of August. That one is still in the works. It will most likely be a gift card, and it will be a gift card to, if you are in Europe, then it will be a European dyer or supplier, and if you are in the US, it'll be a US dyer or supplier. Have not decided yet, but that will be the grand prize at the end. All right, all that business is done. So if you are interested in the chickens and how they are doing, I know I mentioned there was a bully last time, or if you're interested in my trip from last weekend, I'm going to talk about all that at the end because it is quite a story, but you will see in my making that my brain was tired. So I went with simple things. I put off the more complicated patterns and just went with things that I didn't have to think about very much. So the first thing that I made is a hat. And this was cast on July 24th and was finished July 25th. It was a very quick make. I just wanted something quick. I was having a rough day, and I took a sick day from work and basically cast on and did 3 rows of this hat and then solved some of my problems. And so I started working on that. So here's the hat. If I am not mistaken, it can be worn just like this. I have a clip on, or I would try this on for you. Or it can be, I think, in the sample and how I tried it on the other day, was with a little bit of a brim. So this is the Portland cap by Mary Pranica. It's on the screen. This is a Blue Sky Fiber free pattern, and I'm using Blue Sky Fibers to make the hat. This was a yarn that I received in a gift prize for what's that called? Yarn shop day. That's none of those words are correct. Local yarn shop day. And it was also the anniversary of the shop at the time, and so I won this skein, and the prize pattern came along with it. So this is Woolstock Tweed in the colorway Midsummer Night. And this pattern was very simple. It used all but maybe 3 grams of the skein, and it just had a simple cable in one spot. This hat is going to go into a donation pile for, I think they start taking donations in September or October. So I have some socks and now a hat that will go into that, because this hat is way too warm for North Carolina winters. So it will go up north where it will be very well worn. I used the called for needles, which was US 10 6mm, and this pattern is available online. I had the printed pattern that they give out during local yarn shop days and things like that, but it is available online, and that is free. So since it's an Aran worsted weight, it would work with most things. It was a 100-gram skein, and like I said, used just about all of it. It's very stretchy, looks cool with that one little cable. And I didn't use a cable needle. I did need a needle for this one in particular. I'm not very well versed in cables yet, so I did need a cable needle. But what I did is I just took a DPN from one of my DPN sets and just used that to hold the stitches in front and move them around. But it was a very simple, easy to do pattern. All right, the next one is a pair of socks, which you did see these started. These are nicknamed my Good Enough Socks. So these are made out of yarn that I purchased in 2020, December of 2020, and was the oldest hand-dyed yarn in my stash. I purchased these with the purpose of, when I got good enough to make socks, that I would make myself a pair of socks out of these. And after I think like 170 some individual socks, I am now good enough. So those are the socks, and I am actually pretty surprised at the evenness of the dye, because this is a mop. So this is from Kim Knits Creations here on YouTube, and she was doing this for her 2020 Hanukkah yarns. She does or I don't know if she still does, I haven't watched her since December, so I'm not sure if she still does the Hanukkah boxes, but she was doing the dye for this, and then this was the mop. So she doesn't like to waste dye or anything like that, so she'll wipe her hands and her utensils and pour out extra dye on these mops, and then she sells these yarns on her Etsy shop. So this was the first hand-dyed yarn. This was the first non-commercial yarn that I purchased, and so I am good enough now and made myself a pair of socks out of it. These will go in my collection of socks. I cast those on June 28th and finished them July 23rd. My socks are taking quite a long time lately, but that's okay. We are not stressing about that. We're having fun with our craft. I used US 1's 2.25 millimeters. They are 68 stitches, which is my preferred stitch count, and they are my Charlie Sock Hop pair number 7. I have a goal of doing 12 pairs of socks by the end of August. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. that is all for that pair of socks. The next ones, I don't know why I threw these back there because I need the blockers. The next pair of socks you saw, I believe, as well last episode. These are my Most Ardently socks by Kelly Menzies, or Roto and Cades. And this is her pattern of this 2-month period. She is doing a make along with her patterns, and every 2 months she picks another pattern and we knit them. They are for prizes, and I believe it's a public, yeah, it's a public make along, so you can do it with her on Instagram. That's how you enter for prizes. So these are the Most Ardently socks. I need to take a picture of these. I just finished them the other day, but I need to take a picture of them so that I can get them on Instagram. This is one of my favorite patterned sock patterns, and it is just a simple lace texture. And this yarn color is beautiful. So this yarn is Ruby and Roses. Sorry, it is folded in a weird way. In the colorway Chauffeur, in her soft rose base. And I just love this green. This green is me. If I could wear everything in this color, I would. I cast these on July 1st, which is when the 2-month period started, and I finished them August 8th. So again, these took me a while, but the texture of this sock was just a little bit too much for my brain to be able to process. At the time, like I said, this is my favorite sock pattern. I've made it many a times, so it's not that it is difficult in any way, just everything going on. I needed simple stockinette or otherwise. I made these for myself. I made the size 5 in the pattern, made exactly 2 pattern except for the toe. I always swap out the normal decrease to 18, but it's 19 in this case because of the stitch count, and then decrease to 8, which was 9 for this particular sock. US ones, 2.25 millimeter, and I am I'm counting these as my Charlie Sock Hop pair number 8. Those are all the details for that one. I can move my sock blockers back there now. And the next one is a finished object. I have one more to finish. I'm like more than halfway done with it, I think. But I am counting it as a finished object because I'm going to finish it in like 10 minutes. So to me, it's a finished object. But I have quite a few of them. So I'm going to get them over here to show you. So because of everything that was going on, I needed that simple, mindless product. And that was, I have them all stacked up right here, or most of them, dishcloths. So this pattern is the My Favorite Dishcloth pattern by Woods and Wool. It is a free pattern on her blog, and I am using Dishy from Knit Picks to make all of these in various different colors. I have made some modifications, so I'll talk about those, but so far this is the color that I am currently making one out of, and there's the one that I'm almost done with. I'm currently getting 3 out of a skein with the modifications that I've made, but I have used a full color of everything. So the first one that I made was this one that's wonky. And the way that this pattern has you do is you go to a certain count. Actually, that's not the first one that I made. Is it this one? Does it really matter? I don't think it does. Anyway, one of these ones in Inlet, that's the colorway, I made first, and then I started making some adjustments. These all have a border around it. In the pattern, she uses a contrast color. And I had like 130 grams of the inlet color, and then I had some of this Sun-Baked left over and used it for a contrast color on this last one. I have stopped doing the border. I don't like how the border particularly looks and makes the washcloth or dishcloth feel. So I've stopped doing the border, and I have added a row of single crochet all the way across on the top before ending, just so that the starting chain and the top chain all look the same. But these inlet ones all have borders, and one of them is made exactly how the pattern is. But they're just a simple, I think it's an 8" by 8" dishcloth. So I'm making these for Christmas. I will either give them away as a color set, or I will mix and match as I get to it. The next colorway that I made, and where I started doing the starting single crochet and then also ending with a single crochet but no border, is something. It's inlet, so it must be this one. Sunshine Multi is this colorway. And so I have 3 of that color. And it used just about every bit of it. I think I had about 3 or 4 grams left of the yellow. And then we went on our trip last weekend, and I took a skein of this, and I actually made 3 out of this colorway, which is Friendship Bracelet, but I made 2 of them at my grandfather's and Nana's house, and so I left 2 of them with her because she was using handmade dishcloth, so I left her 2 in Tulsa. So that one was the last one that I did, and then this one is just in the navy colorway. I believe it actually goes this way. And I have made 2 so far without the ends woven in, and then I am working on the last one. So about halfway done with that, and here's where I have on that. So just something quick, easy, memorizable, textured, but not overly complicated. That's what I chose to do when my brain just wasn't wanting to be engaged in anything complicated. I am not going to show you the navy dishcloths in the next episode, so that is why I'm considering it a finished object. You've seen 2 of them. They're going to look the exact same. I have plenty more cotton that I'm going to be working through because I want to gift these for Christmas, and they're whipping up pretty quickly, and like I said, pretty easy on the brain. All right, let's get an update on blankets. I did work on my anthology throw, but I only did 1 round, if that, on it. I didn't have D&D in the past. I think we only had D&D once, and I was working on something else. So I usually work on that blanket during D&D, and then we didn't have it the past 2 weeks. So no visual update on that one, just a row on it. And this is my Diagonal Baby Blanket by Snufflebean Yarn. It is a free corner-to-corner knit blanket pattern. I think it is written for DK weight, but I'm using fingering weight. Oopsies. And here is my update on it. So where that Buzz Lightyear stitch marker is where I was last time. And I am about halfway through, a third of the way through on adding in the next color. So the colors in order there at the tip is Somebody Loves You by Yarnable, Invisible String by Ruby and Roses, One of a Kind by Yarnacious Fibers, Let's Get Basted by Yarnable, and Witch Please by Yarnable. So this is going to be a blanket for my friend. I am little over halfway through where I'm going to be on the width. He mostly wants it to be kind of a wrap around blanket. So I'm thinking if I have enough yarn, it'll be kind of longer than it is wide, but that is where we are on it. Not too much else to update on, not too much more to update on you for that. Oh my gosh, my words. And this is knit on a US 4 3.5 millimeter. It's just a squishy garter corner to corner blanket. Sorry if I'm in a different position. I needed to get some water. My throat has decided it no longer wants me to talk. All right, next blanket update is my Go-Go Throw by Amba O'Brien. If I remember correctly, I didn't do too much on this over the past 3 weeks, but I did touch it. Yeah, very little there. I just finished the color repeat that I was on. So this is the Go-Go Throw by Amba O'Brien, and it is meant to be a little bit more narrow than this and longer than it's going to turn out, but I added 2 or 3 repeats, I can't remember, of the chevron, and I removed a yarn over repeat. I am also modifying the pearl, I forget what it's called in the pattern, but there's a specific pearl decrease that you do, and it was really hard on my hands. So I am modifying that with a specific pearl decrease where you purl the stitch, move it over, and then you slip the next stitch, and then you bring them both back over, and you move the slip stitch over the purled stitch, pull the yarn a little bit tight, and then you continue on. So that is what I'm doing for that particular stitch. So I'm going to move this one up because I will most likely work on my anthology throw coming up rather than this one. So I want to remember to move that up. And I did wind up the next color. This is using the Homespun House Advent from 2023. And I'm using it in order, except for I did 24 on instead of day 1 first. So that it goes 24, 1, 2, and then so on. Just because I felt like that color matched a little bit more. It's a circle fade. So I think it would work either way. I just think it matches better with this color versus the 23rd day. All right, and that is day 11 that I am on this one. So not quite halfway, or exactly halfway. Once I add that one in, it'll be exactly halfway. All right, that is all for that one. Knocking stuff down. All right, and then a quick update on my Ariana cardigan, which is using this yarn here, which is Paint Box Simply DK. In various colors. I am attempting to make a square a day, but I have not. The past 3 weeks I have made 4, and I think I made all of these in 1 day, so I'm not doing too great on that. I did a lot of crocheting though. I did work on all of these dishcloths, but I am making the individual squares, which I think I need 90 something, and they are going to be all individual. None of them will match. They will all have their own unique color combinations. And I'm sewing in all the ends except for the last one to sew in at the end. And then the joining color is going to be that dark gray. So I've added 4 more to my total, and we'll add those into my drawer. Hopefully we'll focus on that a little bit more in the coming 2 weeks. That pattern is the Ariana Cardigan by Amy Christophers. All right, time for socks. I did have a cast on yesterday. I cast on the navy dishcloths and 2 pairs of socks. So I just had where I needed to work on all the things at once. So I will do this one first. So this one I cast on Friday, the Friday we left in the airport. I cast it on, and this is hopefully going to be a pair of socks for my uncle. So Uncle Phil, if you're watching, these are your socks. I am feeling like they're giving vintage Christmas. The colorway is How Time Flies by Yarnable. This is January 2024 colorway. Go. And it did not read very pink in the skein, but once caked up, I felt like it read really, really pink. But as it looks, it just gives vintage Christmas. So the reason why I say I hope these are for my uncle is I did not think when I was packing this, and I packed a US 1.5 on 9-inch circulars, which is what I like to bring when I'm traveling, especially on airplanes, just because the needles are a little less intimidating for TSA agents, just in case. I've never had my needles taken, but just in case. And I typically knit my socks on US 1s, and then I go up to US 1.5, which is US 2.5 millimeter, and that's what I knit 9-inch circulars. But my men's socks, the socks that I typically make for my uncle and many of the men in my life, I knit on 1.5, 2.5 millimeter in circular magic loop, and so I needed to technically go up to a 2 to knit his normal size. So I have made some adjustments. I'm still knitting 72 stitches on this sock, but I have made a longer gusset, and I think that that will solve some of, if any, fit issues with this particular sock. So this is just a vanilla sock of my recipe. Like I said, I'm doing just a little bit of a longer gusset on this particular one. The gusset decreases are complete, and so it's just knitting in the round. This is the only sock of this particular pair that I have been working on. So it's still early stages of being a sock. All right, next is my Bigfoot socks. These are going to be socks for my sister, most likely for Christmas. And these have just gotten started. Like I said, I did a cast on yesterday and cast on 2 pairs of socks. This one I just got started. Here's the yarn in the cake. It is gorgeous. I'm also wearing a Eskimo Joe's Bigfoot shirt. You can see the toes of the Bigfoot print that I got in Tulsa. But these are, the pattern is the Crazy Sock Lady's Vanilla DK free pattern that she has. That's what I get my counts from, and then I kind of adapt my regular vanilla structure if I need to do anything. But these are pretty much knit exactly to K's, so I'm going to credit that pattern for this pair. This is Fangirl Fibers Cryptids, Myths, and Legends, which is a monthly subscription that I have. There we go. And like I said, this one is Bigfoot. I have been making my grandma most of the socks from this collection so far, but me and my sister have this thing about Bigfoot. I don't know what. So I have decided to make her a pair of socks out of them. That is all for them. That's all I have, is just a couple rows, but those will go fairly quickly. I kind of cast those on for quick meeting pickup socks, or for if I'm sitting outside watching the chickens or anything like that. This one will be the one that I pick because it's DK, quick, and easy. The last project that I have to show you is also a teeny tiny cast on. So I'll show you that first. My little goldfish stitch marker. So this is just a few rows of 2x2 ribbing as well. But the pattern is going to be Kay's new Vanilla Bean sock pattern. But you just can't tell that from what it is so far. And they will be for my sister, I believe, is what I have added that as. So this is a yarnable colorway called the Raven. This is pretty deep stash. I'm going to say 2023 or before. It was before they started putting the dates on the stickers, so I'm not sure when I got this one exactly, but it is one of my oldest stash. And so this is the main colorway, what the main color will be. This is that Raven colorway, and this is the contrast color that I'm using to pull out some of those purples. And I believe this is a mini from the Wicked Stitch, which is a local North Carolina dyer. And I believe this is one of her minis that I collected over the past couple of years. So I will use this ball of yarn, the mini, for cuffs and heels. And then the toes will just be in this color. So that is cast on. Again, teeny tiny cast on, but it is cast on nonetheless. And I just cast it on yesterday, so not that big of a deal. And I worked on the diagonal blanket mostly last night. All right, so that's all the finished objects. I do have 2 quick acquisitions for you. They're just my monthly collection. You should have gotten, if you are on the Yarnaceous Fibers Swift Reads subscription, you should already have yours, but just a heads up, that's the first one I'm going to show. So this is the yarn, and this is her new logo. I can't remember if the last one had this logo or not. This is called Look What You Made Me Do. And then this is the stitch marker that comes with it. I'm mostly making my sister socks out of this collection as well, but I just love that purpley, pink, yellow. I love this vibe. So I can add that to my collection now. And then I just got this one a couple days ago, so if you haven't gotten your Cryptids, Myths, and Legends from Fangirl Fibers yet, you may want to skip ahead a minute or two so that you don't get spoiled on that. So I'm about to show that. This is My Best Friend Mothman, and I love it. I don't know if this is going to be socks for my grandma or if I might make some socks for my uncle. Uncle Phil, do you want this color if you're watching? Do you want some DK Weight Cozy socks out of this? Let me know. So yeah, that is all the acquisitions that I have gotten. I do not expect to purchase any more other than my monthlies until October when I go to SAF, which is the Southeastern Fiber Fair Festival. It's the one that's in Asheville. It's near Asheville. But it's in October, and I plan to go to that with my mom and possibly my niece. But I don't really plan on buying any yarn. I don't have a need for anything in particular just yet. If something comes up that I can't resist, I will buy it. But I am pretty good for the moment. All right. So now we're going to go on to what I've been reading, because I did finish my book and started a new one. And then we'll go into some lifey stuff. So for my books, I was reading The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, and I finished that book. It was great. I did finish it on the airplane while trying to survive a migraine, but it was really good at the end. Yeah, definitely recommend that book for sure. And then I immediately started Wayward by Amelia Hart, which was a recommendation, I think, from my sister when I asked for some recommendations on books. And so far that one's great as well. I've only listened to maybe 30 minutes of it on normal speed. And again, I was fighting for my life on a plane with a migraine, so I didn't have too much gusto to listen to any more of it, but it was really, really good. So that is currently what I am reading, is Wayward. Now lifey stuff. So I mentioned, and I'm going to kind of combine my trip stuff with chicken stuff because they kind of tie together. I mentioned in my last video that we were starting to integrate the baby chicks and that it wasn't going too well because Babs decided to be a bully. And I was very, very stressed out, very, very overwhelmed by everything in the past 3 weeks, really. Mostly because of the chickens and the way that it wasn't going exactly how I had planned, and we had to figure out some things. And then we were going on our trip. It was just a weekend trip. We left on Friday, came back on Monday, but I was leaving the chickens to someone who doesn't have chickens. I mean, obviously it's not that hard to feed them and close up and open up their coops in the morning. But because of the situation that we were in with Babs, we had to figure out some things. So what Babs was doing is she was aggressive towards the 3 new little ones and obsessed with chasing them. So if we let her out with them out, they would hide, usually in their little isolation area, and wouldn't come out to explore or try to mingle and try to integrate with the other chicks. Soon as I put Babs in a separate area, they would come out. Pecking order stuff would happen with the other chickens, but like nothing crazy, like what you would expect with chickens. And so we had to make the decision on what to do because we were leaving in a week, and the new chicks didn't have an opportunity to try to go into the coop and learn to go into the big coops to be shut up at night. So we were having to pick them up and put them away, and didn't want to leave that responsibility very much for the chicken sitter. And of course we had Babs, and the issue with Babs not wanting to play nice. So we decided to put her in isolation. And that came from, I read a lot of information about it online, and everyone was saying, well, this could work. I've heard of this working. This may work, but typically when people have a bully chicken, they typically cull it. And if you don't know, my chickens are my pets, not the typical farm animal chicken. I treat them very much like I would Charlie. They are my pets. So culling is not really an option that I would like to do unless they are really, really sick and I don't want them to suffer. So I read some information that said if you isolate them, kind of like you isolate the baby chicks, like they can see them, but they can't touch them for 2 weeks without allowing her out, then sometimes that can correct the pecking order. So the littles would integrate with the other 3 big girls, and then Babs would have to be reintroduced on her own. So we decided to do that. So we built a temporary wall at the back of the coop, or at the back of the run, I'm sorry, and a temporary coop in that section for her to go in. That is not for the faint of heart. I almost couldn't do it because she was really sad. She cried and just was very, very sad and scared and didn't understand why she couldn't get out and go into the normal coop. But the littles did really, really well and went into the coop that night. Not by themselves, but like they got in there and the other girls let them go in there. And so Babs was isolated. And we went on vacation. Vacation was very, very stressful. We were just going to see my grandfather for his birthday. So just a really quick weekend trip. There was 7 of us, my mom, my dad, myself, my sister, and her 3 kids. And we went to surprise him. He didn't know we were coming. But flights got really, really delayed on the East Coast because of a storm line that was passing through. And we were expected to get in about 8:30 in Tulsa, but wound up not getting in until right at midnight. So we didn't get to see my grandparents and surprise them on Friday. So he had to know because he was waiting for my dad to come. He knew my dad was coming. And so she had to tell him so that he would go to bed. So anyway, we spent the weekend there. It was really good, other than the stressful night of travel. And I'm sorry if you can hear beeping. Apparently, someone is very impatient for someone in a house, and they've just decided to just beep annoyingly, as if that's gonna hurry anyone up. Anyway, the 2 days we had in Tulsa were great. Spent time with family and absolutely enjoyed that. And then on our way back on Monday, we also had some issues and delays and things, not due to weather. I'm not actually sure why our flight got delayed so much, but we missed our connection flight to come home. And we are in a rural, can't say that word, in a small town. And we have 2 airports that are about an hour and a half away, and they don't get very many flights in a day. Why do people have to beep? Okay, where was I? So we had delays coming back, and we missed our connection flight, and so we had to, if we wanted to get back in the same day, which we needed to because my sister, who is a charge nurse in the ER, needed to get back for shift the next day, we decided to change to the other airport, which meant we didn't have transportation waiting for us because we are in a rural area. Ubers and things like that are harder to get, especially late at night. And so yeah, we got to take a taxi, which was great. We got home, my group, my mom, my dad, and myself got home about 14 minutes before midnight on Monday. So we did get home in the same day. My sister and the kids were about 20 minutes ahead of us in a taxi. But anyway, that was kind of stressful. It was a very long, very, very long day of trying to figure out stuff. But we got home, and during that weekend, Babs did escape somehow. We're not exactly sure how she got out, but she had got out, and I called the chicken sitter, and she lives like 5 minutes away. And I was like, Babs is out. Can you please go check on her, see if she can get her back into her isolation area? And she video called me, and we checked on all the other chickens to make sure she hadn't, hurt or injured any of the littles. But it seemed like she was doing okay, so I was pretty excited that maybe things were going to go okay. So all of that went fine. They did very well during the time away. So yesterday, which was Saturday the 9th, I let her out. I opened up the door and let her come out, and we did it. She is integrated with everyone. So all of our chickens are now integrated and happy. She does still try to go after the littles, but not in the same way that she was. Like, she would get this look in her eye like a crazed chicken and go after them. Like, she was going for blood. But now, like, she'll go to charge at them a little bit, kind of like a pecking order charge, nothing crazy. And one of the other bigger girls will actually come up next to her and peck her gently, kind of to remind her, hey, nope, they are one of us. You may not treat them like that, and kind of corral her away from the littles. So the big girls are taking care of the littles, and everyone went in the coop last night. So we've done it. It was a very, very stressful 5 weeks of trying to get them integrated, but we've done it. I love my chickens, and we'll probably always have chickens, but most likely we'll only have one flock at a time. If we do decide to get a new flock once these ladies stop laying, we will probably have a separate run and coop for them and not do the integration thing, because that was a lot. That was a lot of stress. If Babs hadn't been such a bully, it probably wouldn't have been so bad, but it was stressful. Anyway, that's all the livey stuff that I have. It is getting quite far along in August, but you will see at the end a roll of all of the socks that have been submitted on Ravelry, and I will show you all of those with some comments from Charlie, so stick around for that if you'd like to see. Sorry about the music last video. I intended to turn it way down, and it went too crazy, so I apologize. I'll make sure that I have some nice calming quiet music this time. But anyway, stick around for that, and hopefully I will see you in 2 weeks. There's a potential that I will move it to a 3-week again, just to get back on my normal schedule, because typically I do chicken chores on every other week, and then I do videos on the other weeks. So we'll see. I might do a 3-week period here in the future, but I expect to be back in 2 weeks, and we'll see how these socks are going. And yeah, all is good. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.